Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 4th canto, chapter 17, Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth. Text 6 and 7. So I'm going to read 6, then we read 7 together. Yachanyanapi Krishnasya Bhavam Bhagavata Prabhu Shrava Shushrava Sapunyam Purvadeha Katarashayam. Now text 7. Bhaktaya Menuraktaya Tava Chalukshajasya Cha Bhaktumarasi Yoduhyam Vanyarupena Gamnimam Bhaktaya Menuraktaya Tava Chalukshajasya Cha Bhaktumarasi Yoduhyam Vanyarupena Gamnimam
Bhaktaya Menuraktaya Tava Chalukshajasya Cha Bhaktum Arhasi Yoduhyam Vanyarupena Gamnimam
Bhaktaya, and to the devotee, to me, Anuraktaya, very much attentive, Tava, of you, Cha, and Adokshayashya, of the Lord, who is known as Adokshaja. Cha, also, Bhaktumarhasi. Please narrate. Ya, one who, Aduhya, milked, Vanyarupena, in the form of the son of King Vena. Gam, cow, earth, Imam, this. Prithu Maharaj was a powerful incarnation of Lord Krishna's potencies. Consequently, any narration concerning his activities is surely very pleasing to hear, and it produces all good fortune. As far as I am concerned, I'm always your devotee as well as the devotee of the Lord. who is known as Adhokshaja. Please therefore narrate all the stories of King Prithu, who in the form of the son of King Vena milked the cow-shaped earth. Purport. Lord Krishna is also known as Avatari, which means one from whom all the incarnations emanate. In Bhagavad Gita 10:8, Lord Krishna said, Aham sarvasya prabhumatta sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Thus Lord Krishna is the origin of everyone's appearance. As far as this material world is concerned, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva are all emanations from Krishna. These three incarnations of Krishna are called Gunavatars. The material world is governed by three material modes of nature, and Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva respectively take charge of the modes of goodness, passion and ignorance. Maharaj Prithu is also an incarnation of those qualities of Lord Krishna, by which one rules over conditioned souls. In this verse, the word Adhokshaja, meaning beyond the perception of the material senses, is very significant. No one can perceive the Supreme Sanctity of God by mental speculation. Therefore, a person with a poor fount of knowledge cannot understand the Supreme Sanctity of God, since one can form only an impersonal idea on the strength of one's material senses. The Lord is known as Adhokshaja. Magyānati mirandasya janajana salakaya chakshuru militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha Sri Chaitanya manobhishtam sthapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa gadamahyam dadati swapadantikam vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Samaduntam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vikamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabharusute Devi Pranamami Anipriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavane Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Vidura was eager to hear about the activities of King Prithu. He's asking Maitreya Rishi, please narrate the pastimes of King Prithu, because he's a powerful incarnation of Krishna's potency. So anything related to Krishna is attractive to the devotees, because they want to develop their attachment to hear Harikatha. Because the devotees know by hearing this Harikatha, the mind and the heart start to become cleansed from material contamination. The only reason we can't understand Krishna, Krishna's name, form, qualities, activities, is only due to material contamination. Atasi Krishna nama adina bhavedgrayam indriyai sivam mukhe jivadu swayameva spuratena. the material gross senses, you can't understand Krishna. But when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, starting with the tongue, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, then gradually the truth about Krishna start to become revealed, because the senses and the mind start to become purified. Then the perception of Krishna's eternal existence and our relationship with Him as an eternal loving servant start to become revealed. And when that revelation takes place, then the devotee becomes convinced that this is the right path I'm walking through, and I should not deviate from this path. Because Mamchayo Vyavicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatityaita Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. And now it is explained that those who follow the path of Bhakti Yoga without deviation, they achieve the state of transcendental life. They become transcendental personalities, rightly situated in their eternal glory as an eternal servants of the Lord. That's the real glory of the soul. So without proper understanding of Shastra and Sadhu Guru, people just rely on their own mental power, mental speculation, philosophical speculation to understand the Lord. And at most, through that process, they can come to the conclusion that the Lord is impersonal, because He's adokshaya, He's beyond the mind and material senses. So, because of not surrendering to the Lord and loving service, the Lord doesn't reveal Himself to those who are not His servants, His devotees. One devotee told me yesterday that the so-called sannyasini came to Trinidad, and she was giving a lecture, and she was saying that actually Lord Ramchandra wasn't the Supreme Lord. Rather, the Supreme Lord was Hanuman, because he had more powers, he showed more powers. He performed more amazing feats than the Lord Himself. So she foolishly concluded that Hanuman was the Supreme Lord and not Lord Ramchandra. Such a foolish person, posing as a spiritual leader and misleading people, because it's not based on Shastra. What the Shastra said? The Shastra said Lord Ramchandra is the Supreme Lord and Hanuman is His eternal servant. That's what the Shastra said. But because they don't rely on the Shastra, they rely on their own mental speculation, they think they have to come out with something new to impress people. That's their idea. They have to come with something nobody has said before, to impress people, to shock them. But if that is done according to the Shastra, then it's all right. But if done is out of mental speculation, that's misleading. This foolish person doesn't understand, by the mercy of Lord Ramchandra, Hanuman got his powers to serve him. They don't understand. Lord Ramchandra came to play the role as a human being. When Ravana got the blessing of Lord Shiva, he asked for protection from all kinds of powerful living entities like demigods and other living entities, but he didn't ask protection from human. He considered human to be powerless in front of him, so he didn't ask that blessing. So in order to kill Ravana, Lord came as a human being, as a perfect king. He played the part of human. So they don't understand the pastimes of the Lord. They just speculate. Like even one Iskcon lady, she was criticizing, of course she doesn't accept the conclusion of her own guru. She was speculating that that what Lord Ramchandra did by vanishing Sita back to the forest was completely wrong, was completely cruel, hard-hearted. How he could send her to the forest being pregnant? Apparently it looks like that. But they don't understand this is all Leela, this is all the pastimes of the Lord. This is past. They are never separated, their relationship is eternal. It's only apparent. And why Lord Ramchandra did that? Because there is one incident that happened. You want to hear it? Yes. Okay. The incident was that Lord Ramchandra from time to time he would disguise himself as a regular citizen. So he will walk on the street and will hear what people will say about his government. He wanted to know if everybody was satisfied with his government. So he will disguise himself, walk the street, mingle with people. So one day he passed in the front of the house of a Shudra, a washerman, and heard that he was arguing with his wife. They were having a fight. And he was telling his wife, go back from wherever you came. You spent the night with some other man, in some other man's house, and now you're coming back in the morning like nothing happened. Are you crazy? Go back to wherever you came. I'm not gonna take care of you anymore. Go away. Do you think like I'm like Lord Ramchandra? His wife was kidnapped by a demon and he accepted her back. I'm not that foolish. So when Lord Ramchandra heard that, he was very worried that the citizens have such an opinion about him. So he consulted with the brahmanas, with the ministers. So they called the Shudra to the palace and they started chastising him for speaking like that. And the Shudra said, that's all right, I mean, you're Brahmanas, I'm just a fallen Shudra, but I have a question for you. If your wife leaves you and go with some other man, and if she comes back, will you accept her? And all the Brahmins were dumb, could not speak a word, they were completely, they were defeated by the Shudra, because he silenced them. So, due to that, Lord Ramchandra was forced to banish Sita back to the forest. Although he knew she was even pregnant with love and kush. And what he did, he couldn't do it himself. He asked Lakshmana, please take Sita to Valmiki's hermitage in the forest and leave her there. Don't tell her, don't explain nothing to her, just leave her there. Lakshmana didn't want to do that. He was broken-hearted to do such a thing. But because Lord Ram was his elder brother, he was forced to obey. So Lakshmana, he swore that the next birth, he will not be younger brother, but elder brother. So he doesn't have to obey his brother. So that's why he came as Balaram, elder brother, instead of younger brother. So anyway, this is the Leela of the Lord. People misunderstand because they don't have, the direction of Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. They just manufacture with their own brain, their understanding. That's why they make offenses, make mistakes. And who was that washerman, that Shudra in his previous life? That's also explained in Ramayana. That before meeting Lord Ram, Sita Devi was playing in the garden with her girlfriends. And they took shelter under a tree, the shade of a tree. And on that tree there were a couple of parrots speaking to each other. The she parrot was speaking about the qualities and beauty of Lord Ramchandra. and the he parrot was confirming what she was saying. And she was very, very attracted to hear about the Lord's beauty and pastimes and qualities. So she asked her girlfriend to capture those parrots, and they brought them and put them in a cage. So, and she asked the she parrots, please continue narrating about the glories of the Lord. And the she parrot said, well, right now I'm pregnant, and please release me. When I will, you know, put my eggs, then I will come back and narrate for you the glories of the Lord. And Sita said, no, if you go, you will not come back. I want to hear right now. I'm very eager to hear more about the pastimes of the Lord and His glories. I may release the male, your husband, but I will keep you. So she released the male parrot. And the she parrot said, well, I'm very attached to my husband, I'm going to die in this separation. And the male parrot said, I'm also going to die because I'm also very attached to my wife. I can't live from separation from her, so I'm going to die too. But since you made us separate from each other when my wife was pregnant, I will be born again as a Shudra and make sure that you will get separated from your husband when you are pregnant. So that's what this parrot was born at this Shudra, the washerman, who performed this activity. Of course, we know there is no karma involved in the Lord's activities, but it's a teaching us. Always there is some lesson to be learned from the pastimes of the Lord. So here, Vidura eagerly is asking Maitreya Rishi, please narrate the activities of Prithu Maharaj. Because I'm also your devotee, as well as devotee of the Lord. That's very important consideration that Lord Krishna told Arjuna in the Adi Purana. Those who say that they are my devotees, they are not my devotees. But those who say they are devotees of my devotees, servant of my servant, they are my true servants. So that's why we have to go to Krishna through the Guru Parampara. That's the process. Servant of the servant of the servant. Gopi Bhaktur Padakamalayur Das Das Anudas. That's Lord Chaitanya's teaching. So, he wanted to know how Prithu Maharaj milked the earth in the shape of a cow, producing all kinds of good things. Because previously, because King Bena was such an evil demon, the earth wasn't producing enough, needs for the people, for the animals. So Bena was such an asura, hard-hearted demon, that even when he was a child, while playing with his friends, he will kill. Every day he will kill one of his friends, just out of fun. He was such a demon. Imagine, play with friends just for fun, you kill one friend every day. He's a crazy guy. But because he was a prince, his father didn't check him. He tolerated him. So when he himself became a king, he started giving him more people. And the Brahmins, they tried to correct him, but he would not listen to their advice. So being very angry at him, they cursed him. Just by cursing him and breaking their Brahmin thread, they killed him without touching him. Brahma Teja. Brahmanas were so powerful at that time. Just by saying a word, they could kill a person. That powerful they were. But because Shriki cursed King Parikshit, then the Brahmins lost their power because of that offense of one of them. Since then, they lost their power. Once what you are asking me, one Brahmin devotee cursed me. I told him, don't worry, in the Kali Yuga there is no such power. And anyway, devotees are not supposed to curse anyone, but to bless everyone. So this attitude of cursing anyone is not Vaishnava. Unless it is like Narad Muni sometimes cursed the Nakulas, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, that was for their own good. That was a blessing in disguise. They were delivered by Lord Krishna. They became pure devotees of Krishna. Otherwise they will not do it. So anyway, when King Vena died by the curse of the Brahmins, then all the criminals, thieves and plunderers, they took advantage. There was no king. They started to create havoc even more than before. So the Brahmins said, we have to do something about this. So they started to churn the body of King Vena. That must by mystic power, of course. They prayed for the Lord's appearance, and the Lord appeared as King Prithvi, as the son of Vena, because he came out of his body. So, since he saw the earth so miser with the living entities not producing enough food for everyone, he was chasing the earth, who took the shape of a cow, and he would bow an arrow trying to chase her out. And she fell at his feet saying, please, spare my life, why you are doing this? He said, well, you are not producing enough food for all living entities. I want you to do that. She agreed. She said, you can milk me, and with that, the earth will be filled with more vegetables and grains and fruits and all kinds of eatables. So there is the pastime. And he performed more wonderful pastime because there were too many hills, mountains, so he made everything straight to cultivate the land. So he did that. He had so much power given by Lord Krishna because he was empowered by the potencies of the Lord. So any incarnation of the Lord is worthy to hear narration about your activities. It's very pleasing to hear and produces all good fortune. All good fortune. So we have to increase our hearing chanting in order to develop a taste for a devotee. It's pleasure to hear about the Lord's different incarnations, different activities, because living entity can't live without some kind of pleasure. If we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, then what are the needs of the soul? The soul has mainly three needs: spiritual pleasure, satisfaction, the spiritual shelter, and the spiritual food. The food is not only Krishna Prasad, of course, but also to hear about Krishna is food for the soul. And the pleasure derived, when you eat, you feel pleasure. Your hunger is satisfied. bite by bite, the hunger diminishes and you feel strength and satisfaction. In the same way, when we engage in devotional service and hear and chant and remember about Krishna's and wonderful name and form and qualities and activities, then we are being nourished. We are being sheltered by the Lord's holy name and devotional service. So we have to chant the holy name with that attitude of asking for shelter. Please, Lord, I've been trying to forget you for so many lifetimes. Now that I'm coming back to my senses, trying to take shelter on your lotus feet, please don't reject me. Please accept. If we chant the holy name with that humble attitude, praying for the Lord's shelter, then we will get that shelter. Prahlad Maharaj, in the H.H.Bhakti Sundar, he said, when the devotees engage in devotional service and chant the holy name of the Lord, they will feel happiness and the hair of their body stand on end, next, and that will act like a shield protecting them from Maya's attack. So that's our philosophy. Param Drishtva Nivartate. We have to develop higher taste. We have to develop pleasure in hearing the Lord's activities. So we don't have to look for other lower pleasure in material activities and sense gratification. Because this can be artificial. You have to have some kind of pleasure. Why people go to discotheque and dance and sing? Because they try to get some pleasure. It's a way to be happy to be alive. I'm alive. So let me celebrate that let me celebrate life by dancing and drinking and singing. But they don't know that these are lower activities and they are not going to give them real satisfaction. Because the soul needs spiritual pleasure, spiritual satisfaction. They feel sheltered by their friends and family members, by the state. But these are fallible soldiers. Nobody can protect anyone from birth, death, old age, disease. So we have to hear more and more Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees, and gradually start to become more and more convinced what is the purpose of our life, to achieve the shelter and the mercy of the Lord. That is the purpose of performing devotional service. So when Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I am the origin and the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from. That means Balaram, Narayan of Vaikuntha, the Mahavishnus, all the Vishnus, all of them are emanating from Krishna. So the wise person who knows that worship Krishna with all their hearts, knowing Him the source of everything that exists. Brahmano hi pratishtaha is the foundation of the Brahmanas. And the Paramatma, Ishvara sarva bhutana videsha junatishtati, Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra gudhani maya. Krishna says, I'm in the heart of every living entity. I'm directing the wandering of the souls from one body to another body. They are sitting like a machine-like yantra. The material body is like a machine. And how this machine works? Just by desire. If you want to touch your nose, you don't have to tell muscle 34, please move muscle 55 so I can move my hand to touch my nose. No. Just desiring it automatically happens. So this machine works by desire. And the desire is what moving the soul from one body to another body, trying to fulfill the unfulfilled material desire. There is no end to material desire. No end. But the soul and matter is like oil and water, they don't mix well together. They don't mix well together. But the oil can be carried by the current of the water. So in the same way the soul is being carried by the current of material desires. And in this way the soul is going life after life, trying to exploit material nature, trying to lord over it. And this is struggle of existence. The soul sometimes is enjoying, sometimes is suffering, the dualities of this material life. So unless one comes to transcendental knowledge, one cannot overcome these dualities, material desires. What is the proof that somebody has transcendental knowledge? The proof is that when temptation comes to lure him or her to engage in mundane activities, sinful activities, the person can say, no, thank you, I don't need that. That is the proof that somebody has transcendental knowledge. That he can tolerate the impulses of the mind and the senses. Once a devotee came to greet me some years ago in the temple in Caracas, and I asked him, how are you doing, Prabhu? He said, well, here I'm struggling in this material world. So I asked him, are you struggling to stay or to get out? The struggle must be there. It's more glorious to struggle to get out. Struggle, you have to struggle, no matter what. So better to struggle for something worth, which is eternal life. Than rather to be false enjoyer in the material world, struggling for that. Most people are struggling to be that. But they don't know they are going against their true nature. Imagine in the zoo, a chimpanzee falls in love with a giraffe. That relationship is completely incompatible, isn't it? There is no future for such relationship. In the same way, the soul being enamored by the material energies is incompatible like that. Doesn't have any real future, that relationship. Death comes, everything finishes. So where is your love, your attachment? Everything is gone. You have to start a new life, you don't know where. So, anyway, any comments or questions? Yes, Rajesh.
Generally, always the Lord's Leela that is being performed. Sometimes incidents depict certain material principle like karma.
Yes.
Like Maharaj Dasa, although the Lord's father, but karma was depicted. So I was thinking, is the Lord being separated from the kingdom and having to go through the forest life? Is that some reaction to something in the material sense, or why? Okay, Maharaj Dasa, he died out of separation, but why did the Lord have to? Why did Ram have to go through all of that? Is there any Leela in it?
Very good question. Yes. If somebody read Ramayana, he will find it like a very sad story. That King Ram was banished to the forest. His father died. His wife was kidnapped. He fought with with the help of the monkeys to rescue his wife. Finally he could rescue his wife, and when he's apparently happy living with his wife, he has to banish his wife back to the forest. So it seemed like a very sad story. Big drama. But Lord, Hanuman, he hears every day Ramayana. He relishes to hear Ramayana. We have to understand one thing, that when there is false ego, ahankara, there is karma. But when there is no false ego, then any activity performed is lila, is pastime. So the pure devotees of the Lord, they have no ahankara, they have no false ego. So everything they do is lila, is pastime. And sometimes the pastime are depicted like human activities, because they are meant for human understanding, to appeal to them, to attract them to the Lord's lila. And by the guidance of Guru and Shastra, and some people can start understanding that there is no karma involved, there is no reaction involved. It's just the Lord enjoying his internal potency. By performing this pastime, Lord Ramchandra also is showing if you have a wife, you must undergo some difficulty to protect her. He's teaching people how they should be dutiful and always protect their wife. And you have to undergo problems and austerities to do that. You have to do it. Many teachings. The karmis, they are attracted to love stories, isn't it? And the love story that is, the lovers are separated, and after much struggle, they are reunited. They are reunited again. That becomes like very sweet for them, isn't it? And unless there is some difficulties and overcoming the difficulties, and finally, then it's more relishable. So this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual. So to show that the eternal love is the Lord with his internal potency, he come and display all this pastime. Apparently human activities, apparently karma involved and so many things, just to teach people how to behave, how to be religious, how to be dutiful. So Lord Ram, activities to teach people how to be religious, how to follow moral principles, like that. That's why he accepted only one wife, H.H.Bhakti Sundar. Is that okay? Yes.
Also, Lord Ramchandra came to set the example of a perfect man. You actually take with this faith within the material world. There's always two can do certain things as well. A prison house, right? And he was setting the example for the human being. That as long as it takes birth here, there will be misery.
Yeah, he was performing the part of human being. He was playing the part of human being. So he has to do it like a human being. That people must understand, maybe he's human being. That's their foolishness. It's like the king. He may go to the prison house to try to convince the prisoners to behave so they can go out of the prison fast. But some foolish prisoners may think, the king is in the prison. Maybe he's one of our, like us. He's a prisoner too. But that's their foolishness. That's their foolishness.